Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, I would like all of us to be able to apply the Quran and the Hadith in a way that's truly transformative to our lives. And I think that as we understand and implement this idea of mindset and understanding how our truly deep core beliefs impact all of our behaviors and our thinking and our processing, that we can make some significant and permanent changes in our lives. So that we get past a point where we're hearing khutbah after khutbah or tazkir after tazkir, but we don't see in our lives significant and long-lasting permanent changes and improvement. And one of the challenges with mindset is that oftentimes we're actually unaware of what our core belief system is. We say, well, I'm Muslim, that's my core belief, and that's a belief. It's our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our Creator. But our mindset is also how we see and view the world. So for example, if we consider why most of our masajid struggle to raise funds, it's because too often the core belief that many of us have is that lots of other wealthy people will be giving, the money's coming from somewhere, it doesn't really require my money, I can just give a little portion. And so therefore, we don't oftentimes squeeze ourselves really to give everything that we could give. Not because we can't, but because our core belief doesn't dictate that we do. And when it comes to this idea of having an inward mindset, which is that idea of thinking of myself first and foremost and what meets my objectives, oftentimes we deceive ourselves into thinking that we're not as we are. And of course, that would beg the question, how do we get out of a situation if we're not even really aware that we're in that situation? Why is it that shaitan is in hellfire forever? Why is shaitan in hellfire forever? Because he didn't do sajda to Allah, he disobeyed Allah. But if that was the case, we would all be stuck, because every one of us has disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
He did not repent.
He didn't do istighfar, he didn't repent. But there are certainly deeds we've done that we haven't repented for that don't put us in the hellfire forever. It's a deeper thing. It's because in his refusal to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he was really saying was, Allah, you are wrong. You are wrong to have me and command me to bow down to Adam because I'm better than he is. And his insistent refusal to bow to Adam was that issue, that he was saying fundamentally, Allah, you're wrong. I know more than you. I'm better than he is, and you're wrong to ask me to do that. And it's that arrogance of putting himself above Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that becomes the damning thing for him, that puts him in the hellfire forever. On top of the fact that when it was evident to him that he was wrong, that he refused to make the tawbah. Adam, when he committed the first sin, realized he was wrong, immediately made tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know, Allah is Ghafurun Rahim and forgiving and merciful. And if we come to Allah with sins almost to the heavens and beyond, but are sincere in asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive us. But shaitan does what? He has that inward mindset and he continues to justify his behavior. And then he just turns into a blaming machine, blaming Adam. Well, it's Adam's fault now that I'm going into hell. So I'm going to get back at all of the children of Adam alayhi salam. This is inward mindset. He's just focused on himself, and when he comes across a problem, he blames everybody else. I want us to think of another example here in a moment. Imagine that you come home. You're exhausted and tired. And somebody in your house, your spouse or your parent or perhaps your child, depending on your circumstance, comes to you and says, hey, could you help me out? I need some help getting all these dishes washed. I know I said I was going to wash all the dishes. They're still piled up from last night. But, would you help me out? What's your gut reaction would be to say or do what? I think for most of us as good people, our gut reaction would be to want to help out. To say, sure, I'll help you. And if we honor that choice, to help out, then we're doing the good and noble thing. That's an outward mindset. But if we don't honor that choice and we refuse, we say, no, you know what, I'm just really exhausted. We've betrayed the honorable choice of helping. And then what happens is we start to go into a mode of making some excuses and explanations for ourselves. We start to first vilify the other person. We start to think, you were here all day. How come you couldn't wash a few dishes? And we start to think, maybe you're just being lazy. You shouldn't be such a procrastinator. You're always trying to push things off onto other people. And we start to build up a negative image of this person, even though they're our own family member. And then we do, on the opposite end, we start to glorify ourselves. You know, I work so hard for this family. I'm out there putting in hours and days and not taking vacation. You know, I'm so self-sacrificing. You know what, I don't want to enable you. If I come and help you now, you're going to think that you can always put off your chores. And we start to create this dichotomy. The scholars have said the nafs is always the hero of its own story. And that's what we start to do. We start to think about how much we do, and if I help you out, I'm just facilitating you to keep up this bad behavior, and you need to learn a lesson. You know what, get in there, do those dishes. You said you were going to do them. And what's happening here is we're trapping ourselves in this negative mindset of deluding ourselves into thinking that I'm really the hero here, and even by not helping you, I'm really helping you the most. And the key thing is that we're justifying our behavior. If someone were to come and ask us, hey, why didn't you help out when they asked you to help with the dishes? Well, you know, brother, this and this and this, and we start to justify ourselves. And that's the key to understanding when we're in this moment or this place of self-deception, when we have a need to justify certain behaviors. Now, thinking about that, I want you to reflect on this ayah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ينادوهم ألم نكن معكم قالوا بلى ولكنكم فتنتم أنفسكم وتربصتم وارتبتم وغرتكم الأماني حتى جاء أمر الله وغركم بالله الغرور. It's a description of the day of judgment when the hypocrites are trying to follow the believers over the sirat to Jannah, trying to use their light because they have none. The hypocrites will call to the believers, saying, were we not with you? They will say, yes, but you led yourselves into temptation, and you looked forward to our destruction, and you were doubtful in your faith, and wishful thinking deluded you until there came the command of Allah, and the deceiver deceived you concerning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many other ayat in the Quran that talk about this principle of being self-deluded. And Allah warns us over and over, don't let this world delude you into thinking that this world is it. When we find ourselves having to justify our behaviors, not honoring that initial sense of doing the right thing, we need to take that moment to go inside and question ourselves and to ask ourselves, what's going on, and what is that honorable choice that I need to be making instead of the more selfish choice that I'm making. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم إن الله غفور رحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.